spiked out. I could trip a referee. Tell by my attitude that I most definitely from.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Startups. Oh, the poor people in the chat room, they're all speculating as to why I was absolutely going bonkers for 15 minutes. I'm not going to tell you. I'm on absolute pure tilt today. Pure tilt. Anything goes wrong in this episode, I am going to literally break this computer in half. I am on absolute, complete, utter tilt. I don't know why either. It's Friday. I should be happy. Everything's going great. Top is down. My hair is all over the place because I got the top down on the Tesla. Oh, my God. Sorry to the chat room. I'm not going to tell you why. Let's just say it does relate to Gen Y. It does relate to one of my employees or one of the employees of one of my companies, and I am on tilt. And I'm not going to do it. Like last time it became public.
Oh, I just had a great idea.
What's that?
Next time you feel like really getting into it with an employee, first thing you have to do is say, someone get a camera, and then go get the camera, and then so they know, you know, and they know that it's for the record. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, just here's the thing. I'm not going to get into it, but I'm going to get into it for a second. Number one, thank you to Ustream. Ustream. Everybody loves Ustream. Thank you to Ustream for sponsoring the show from the beginning. They've really been critical, an integral piece of building out the This Weekend network, which now is on fire.
And a great interview, episode number 12.
They were on episode 12. Yeah. I know that you've got these all memorized. Yeah. But a great episode. You can see the two founders, Brad and John. Yeah. And man, they're crushing it over Ustream, and incredible. The quality it's like, I'm looking at it right now, and I feel like I'm watching HD. I think they may do something special for our show. Yeah. I think they're smart that way. They ramp up our show, knowing like, hey, this is like all the dope insiders. Let's ramp that up to like, maybe they're losing money on all that HD that they spend. How is it free? How is Ustream free?
I wasn't sure if we were getting better, but I think if they're getting better.
I know we're getting better. The sound quality.
We're getting better. Yeah.
We have a sound person now at This Week in Studios, and boy, sound quality is off the charts for the. I've been listening, and just fantastic. This is just message to Gen Y Part 2. If you choose to work at a startup, your value is not just doing a job. It is also in bringing something additional to the table, which is anticipating problems, solving problems proactively, adding value, coming up with ideas. And this is the thing about ideas. Everybody, I want to have my voice heard. I want to be respected for my contribution. This is what everybody tells me, right? And everybody gives me a hard time, like, oh my God, you have to make people feel good about themselves. Then I ask people for ideas. And this is where the madness starts. And this is where my OCD goes crazy. This is where the Asperger's kicks in. Now everybody, I'm having a whole flame war with people over Asperger's now.
I saw the tweet.
I said in my editorial that Zuckerberg had Asperger-like qualities. Now every Asperger's person is emailing me.
And I'm saying don't associate him with us.
And
you're giving Asperger's a bad name.
And I just want to say, people don't know this. I've never actually shared it with anyone. I mean, you know, Tyler, because we're friends, but I was diagnosed with Asperger's. I'm absolutely intolerant of other people and their feelings. I can't relate to how they feel when I tell them, what the are you doing trying to ruin the podcast by, or whatever it is. But I try to be better. But I mean, how are people going to criticize me for using Asperger's like when I'm clinically diagnosed with Asperger's? I want to be a better guy. I don't have Asperger's. Stop being ridiculous. And if I did have Asperger's, and I don't have any problem with anybody who has Asperger's, what I do have a problem with is people telling me that I cannot use Asperger's-like as a descriptor. You can't say bipolar to describe somebody or bipolar-like. You can't say delusion. I mean, there's word police now.
It started with retarded.
It started with retarded, which, okay, and I'll tell you something. I understand with retarded because people use it in a derogatory sense. It's like the N-word.
Right.
You know, the people who use that word the most often for the longest period of time were people who were trying to put other people down.
Well, retarded at one point was an actual very polite way of saying you're mentally retarded, meaning retarded as in slow, you know, or
it was a descriptor.
Yeah,
and
but
then
at one point that was the kind word.
Right. So I guess at some point that word transitioned to being, I am going to use it to describe stupid. Mm-hmm. And okay, so I understand, like, maybe some people are sensitive to it, whatever. But just the word police is, I'm in an email thread with a person. It's literally 30 emails back and forth now. Him writing thousands of words of how I am calling people names and how I am such a horrible person and I have no empathy. And he starts calling me all these names because I'm calling people names. And I'm like, do you not see the irony in this? And number two, too much word policing going on. Everybody's concerned about words. Nobody's concerned with the context or the substance of what people are saying. I think I'm well within my right to call something Asperger's-like. Asperger's is this condition. Some people debate if it's even true.
Right. Yeah, that's the other kind
And I'm not debating it. I'm not qualified to debate it. What do I know? Right?
Right. Well, it's one thing. It's not even officially recognized as a disorder of sorts, is it?
Oh, it's a recognized disorder now, I believe. Like, I think it's in the DSM 14 or 4, whatever it is now. It's 4, I guess. But if you say Asperger's-like, I put the like in there. That means I'm not saying this person has Asperger's. I'm saying they have behaviors that are like somebody who suffers from Asperger's. What is the main condition of Asperger's? According to Wikipedia, it's an inability to comprehend other people's feelings, or something like that. Who knows? Somebody probably just edited the Wikipedia to say acting like Jason Calacanis or Mark Zuckerberg is what Asperger's is about. Actually, can somebody put on my Wikipedia page that I suffer from Asperger's? That would be a very good. I admitted on This Week in Startups that I actually have clinical Asperger's.
In your point of relating, what was the point of saying that the person's Asperger's like?
For me?
Yeah.
Was that they don't have empathy and understand the feelings of other people.
Right. And you know what's interesting about this point is there's an incredible TED Talk from the most recent TED down,
Yeah.
about autism and their ability,
Yeah.
we need to nurture people with autistic talents because
Right.
they have some incredible talents. Like they should be.
People with handicaps or diseases have something to add to the world?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a newsflash.
No, but my point is that your criticism isn't necessarily meant to be negative in terms of him as a CEO or anything like that. Except that trust is sort of a big issue if you're running a social network. Yeah? Is that kind of where that point was leading?
No, but that is an excellent point. It's an incredible insight.
Yeah.
Insight from Tyler.
That's the good part of Gen Y. Somebody who's controlling the TriCaster right now had their finger on the insight. I think when you're talking, they just put their finger over the insight button, just knowing at any point in time an insight is coming. It's a great insight. That the irony is Zuckerberg may in fact have. I'm not saying this. I'm never going to diagnose somebody with a disease. It's not my place. I'll just say they have something like that. But when they say he's Asperger's-like, or I say that, it is kind of ironic that you're building a social network and you have some problem with socialization or empathy.
That would explain why there was a poke button. Because if I wasn't able to pick up girls, and I was building a tool,
right,
I might use a tool that has no function whatsoever, like a poke button, so that I could that's
right.
my way of connecting.
Any guy who builds a website to pick up chicks, that's very sad. I mean, very sad.
It isn't really that sad. Every band you've ever liked.
Well, starting a band to get girls.
To get chicks.
No doubt. I understand. But that's kind of rad.
Startups aren't that different, though. Are they?
No, you don't do a startup to get girls, but some people do build websites to get girls. And starting a band to get girls is kind of cool because you're like, yeah, I don't care. I'm gonna rock and roll. I'm gonna sing and then get girls, whatever. Anyway,
I'm just saying if you don't have the musical talent.
Quick programming note: immediately following this show, This Week in Asperger's at 4 p.m. That's Pacific time. I'm joking, but actually, there was some guy who he called himself an Aspie. Which I guess, and he's like, yeah, come to Aspie forums. And I was like, what's an Aspie forum? He's like, oh, it's Asperger's. People with Asperger's come to Aspie forum. I love your thing. Yeah. Tell them to get in their hug box or machine. And I was like, dude, you can't make jokes like that. Do you know what that is?
Aspercon, I can see
No,
it coming
what was
now.
the HBO movie with the woman and there's like a hug box or something? She would go into a box and it would squeeze her.
I don't know.
It's a great documentary with Claire Danes on HBO that I was really blown away by. Temple Grandin, yeah. And she had the squeeze box, and this guy with Asperger's is making jokes about people with Asperger's. Of course, he doesn't know he's hurting their feelings. A couple questions from the chat room. We'll get through them real quick. Jason, would you consider doing a talk at TED? No. When are you going to shoot in HD? We actually have HD cameras in here, and the fine folks at New Tech, who have geared us up from day one and have really helped build the network, another big thank you, have an HD unit, and we've been discussing it with them, but from my understanding, it can handle 3 inputs. The regular TriCaster, which is a wonderful device, has 6. And we really need 6 because Tyler's got like 3 viewing angles. Soon they'll have one that can do 6 HD slots.
Right.
However, you have to realize how much bandwidth that is going through a PC. Essentially, the New Tech is basically a PC with a lot of video cards and RAM in it. So anyway, we'll do that soon. And why would I not consider doing a TED Talk? I don't feel like I need to save the world. I don't feel like I've got something extraordinary to tell people like Temple Grandin does. I'm not delusional. I built startup companies. It's not I'm not some big, profound guy, you know? I'm just, really, I mean.
Are you not entertained? Are you not
I'm just here to entertain you guys. And maybe you get a little something out of it. Maybe I learn a little something. That's it. But no, I wouldn't do it. And also, what he did to Sarah Silverman, I thought was just so offensive this year. Because I love Sarah Silverman. And getting back to the words, like Sarah Silverman did a hysterical bit at TED. And Chris Anderson, after she got off stage, like, you're the guy who's hosting the event.
This was back to the retarded thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So she said, like, I don't know the exact joke, but I heard her talk about it. And she said something to the effect of, like, she was going to be she was going to adopt a baby who was retarded. What's the right word that we're supposed to use? Mentally disabled or developmentally disabled, whatever. And the crazy thing is, Chris Anderson won't release this now, the video, which makes him even more of a D-bag for not releasing the video. Because like everybody gets their video released except her, so we can't make the decision. Right. So after she gets off stage, he's like, "I'm sorry, but that was just offensive," and and he like apologizes to everybody. And it's like she's a comedian, you know. And she said, "I'm going to adopt, you know, somebody who's handicapped, mentally challenged." And then the funny part is, you know, because I want to get the points for that, you know, and it's like, okay, that's wrong. But saying that to the TED audience is specifically wrong because they're a bunch of do-gooders. You know, like they're there. These were a lot of rich people flying there on jets, burning innumerable amounts of jet fuel to go have a talk about how to save the environment. Right. Hello, kettle, black, pot, whatever. Ridiculous. Yeah. It's so pretentious. Anybody who's listening can hear my voice right now. If you become successful and you have $6,000 to burn, take your friends to Vegas. Give them chips and let those dice roll, baby. Get a steak. Hit the club. Pop some bottles. Anything but go to TED. What a phenomenal waste of money. $6,000. And you know what I did? I went down to TED and I hosted a poker game and I made $1,500 grand off those do-gooders because they overplayed top pair. So TED for me is a revenue-generating opportunity. Insane. Oh, so then she says, but you know, because I want to get extra points, I'm going to adopt a terminally ill one, a terminally ill handicapped kid, so that I don't have to take care of it for that long. So I get all the benefits of both of those things, and this sent people on tilt. But it's actually pretty funny. Yeah. I mean, it's off call or whatever, but. Another question coming in.
You can't buy a sense of humor. I think it's the...
People take themselves way too serious. Way too serious.
Speaking of taking things seriously.
Yeah, you know, actually, you know what I take very seriously is Web Spy. Web Spy, Web Spy. Oh, what great guys. Web Spy. Everybody knows Jack was on episode
31.
31. Tyler knows all these things off the top of his head. That's why he's Tyler. Web Spy has been a sponsor from the beginning, and it's just like great. Like, This Week in Startups sold out for like 2 years. Literally sold out for 2 years. I mean, podcasting is working. And WebSpy works really well at monitoring all kinds of server activity, from employee internet access to mail service to web hosts, analyze traffic levels, patterns, and errors, and more. You know, you're on your network at the office, at a small office, and all of a sudden things are just not working well and you don't know what's going on. That's what WebSpy does. They just tell you what's going on in your network. You don't have to hire one of these, you know, $1,000 an hour consultants. You just get WebSpy. It's really cheap, but feature rich, and it's a total log analysis solution. It logs all activities so you can see things. It's not for blocking. You're not trying to be like some dictator. Just let you know what's going on in your network. Maybe somebody's in the office downloading stuff on BitTorrent, or maybe everybody's got iTunes and they're just addicted to all the This Week in shows and downloading the HD versions, you know, or whatever, and they're just clogging up the network. And you have to tell people, hey, listen, put your iTunes on at night and download your podcast later. Stuff like that.
You know what's funny? They have it running at the Buckingham Palace, WebSpy.
At Buckingham Palace?
At Buckingham Palace. So they make sure people, you know, just so people know they're being watched so that they're not going on things they shouldn't.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a true story?
That's a true story.
Wow, true story. Buckingham Palace. If it's good enough for Buckingham Palace, it's good enough for your company. WebSpy, thank you. Episode number
31.
31. Jack, great guy. It was a good interview.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he was one of those underwater.
Yeah, scuba diver.
Scuba.
On the oil
most
rigs,
scuba divers
yeah,
are
yeah.
underwater.
Yeah.
But
These days.
what an incredible insight from Tyler. Yeah, he was one of those.
Insights from Tyler.
He was one of those underwater scuba divers, as opposed to the outer space ones,
Yes.
also known as astronauts. But in Tyler's mind, that makes sense. Let's do an Ask Jason. Oh, here we go. Okay, there's the speakerphone. I should have John on the line.
Hi, Jason. How are you today?
I am doing awesome, John. I am sorry I had to go on a 20-minute rant, but I'm on fire today, as you can tell. How long have you been listening to the program?
I actually started on Twist 48, and
48.
I've been working my way back ever since.
Do you have a favorite episode?
I do, actually. I have two. I have Andy Duke and Gary Vee are my two favorite episodes.
Two amazing episodes. Imagine if you had me and those two people as guests on the same program. I think that we would actually rip a hole in the time-space continuum.
Yes, my iPhone would explode watching that. So
Yeah, absolutely. We can't have those people in the same city.
absolutely.
So good job on getting to the program and catching up. How did you find the program?
Well, actually, I was on Twitter, and I noticed somebody had retweeted an episode from you about Ask Jason, so I just looked it up on iTunes and thought it was great, so I decided to start watching it.
Fantastic. And this is why it's so important. You as the audience, you know I use this term often, a term that Tyler taught me, Giri, G-I-R-I. It is your humble honor, it is your duty to retweet the program and spread it with entrepreneurs so that we can help people crush it and make money.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Amen. What's your question?
Well, basically, last September, I found myself in a unique situation. I was at my 2-year anniversary at my job, and I'd made absolutely no progress there. I was in the same boat that I was when I'd started. So I decided to leave that and start a business. And I might have chosen a bit prematurely, but I chose to go with my friend into a multi-level marketing business.
Oops, hello.
That failed miserably.
Yep.
So basically, because of that, my credit cards became overextended, and I became late on my payments, which obviously destroyed my credit. So
It happens.
what I'm curious about is how does somebody who has, maybe a 600 FICO get a tech business started when no banks will talk to him? I can't get a loan at Best Buy or anything like that. So
Yep.
And obviously, I'm not doing well enough now where I can afford that out of pocket. So
Yeah.
what's the starting point for me?
Yeah. So first of all, your first option is to just you can just cry about it, or if you would like to,
You got to get off the bitch train and just pick one.
you could just get off the bitch train, as Gary Vee would say, and just pick one. And the one you should pick probably, since you don't have a bunch of resources, right? And when I started, I had no resources. I think I put like $1,600 on my American Express card to build Silicon Valley Reporter. You should start a service-based business or a business where you can get a client of some type to underwrite the business. The best investor you can get is somebody who gets no equity and gives you the money as a client. So let's say you wanted to build a business building a software utility that helps you manage your online videos, right? So I've got some piece of software that's going to manage this weekend's Ustream channel and our YouTube channel and pull all the statistics together so we don't have to. This is one of the problems we have here. And so somebody, probably Roberta, our social media ninja, who's awesome, is going to every week spend 4 hours just pulling all these statistics together. But they're all available somewhere. And I bet you Leo Laporte on This Week in Tech has the same problem. I bet you Revision 3 has the same problem. Everybody's got the same problem. What the heck is going on with all these different distribution channels? We call it super distribution in the business. You, instead of saying, I'm going to go raise money, or I'm going to take my credit cards and hire a bunch of programs to build this, what you do is you find some dumb client like myself, and you say, hey, Jason, I can build that, and I will build it for you. And instead of you doing it yourself, give me $5,000 to go build it, and we'll support you, and you'll have it, all updates for for all eternity for free. And we're going to give you some warrants in the company. And I say, okay, well, that sounds like an interesting thing to me. Sure, I'll get some warrants, some upside, and I got to get this thing built, and my guys are too busy. Boom. Now you got a client paying for it, and then in the contract it says, like, listen, all intellectual property belongs to us, and you guys, your deal is you get a license to use the product for your company for this one fee for all time. And you know what? That works all the time. And the best people you could have as a client is a previous employer, because you know their business really well. So a lot of people will leave their current company. They were working in the marketing department and come back and be like, I'll write the press releases for you for $700 each, and they become their first client. So find a great client, work backwards from an idea, and get back on your feet. I mean, or you can just sit around and cry on your coffee. But I have a feeling you're not.
That doesn't work.
Go crush it and keep us in the loop as to how you do.
I will do that.
Okay, cheers, pal.
Cheers.
Bye. All right. You got to help people with this one because it is crushing after you lose, like LeBron did last night. Thank you to the fans of Boston for chanting New York Knicks at
The free throw there.
At the free throw line at the end. That was absolute pure genius. Thank you for sending LeBron into the arms of New York City where he belongs. Let's do our Shark Tank because we got an amazing guest.
That's what I want. That's what I want. What I want. That's what I want.
Yes. Everybody loves Shark Tank. Thank you. Thank you. So on the line, we have Raphael.
That is correct.
One of the Ninja Turtles.
Wow, I haven't heard that since about 6th grade, but
yes,
I'll take it.
Raphael, Michelangelo, who are the other two? Leonardo, and
Donatello was the last one.
Donatello. Very good. Okay, we've confirmed that we're all nerds. Welcome to This Week in Geekdom, which actually be an interesting show. I would watch that. So you understand the rules of Shark Tank. We're going to do this really quick because we have an amazing guest on the program immediately after this segment. Andrew Mason, who is the Groupon CEO, one of the amazing companies that is crushing it out there. And Raphael, you're going to have 60 seconds on the This Week in Startup Shark Tank clock. I see those 60 seconds there. I'm going to ask everybody in the chat room, you are going to give 2 ratings. 1, you're going to rate Raphael's pitch on a scale of 1 to 10. How good did he get his idea across? How good of a pitcher is he? And then you're going to do on a scale of 1 to 10, how good is the idea? How good is this business? Is this a great idea or not? So in the chat room, first number, P:number / I:number. And I'm going to read out your numbers and your name while we do that. I'm also going to talk about the launch conference at the end of the program and a way that you as a superfans defined as people who watch the show live every week, can get a free ticket. I got the greatest idea ever of getting all superfans a free ticket. So, are you ready?
I am ready.
Where are you calling from again?
I am now in beautiful Manalapan, New Jersey.
Guys in Jersey?
Yeah, I'm actually from LA, but I'm visiting the girlfriend's parents, so I'm really in the Shark Tank already.
Oh boy. You're in trouble.
Yep.
Oh man. Is that where it's at? You're visiting the parents, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
First time?
No, I had a brief visit with them, but now it's the extended family visit.
Oh boy. Is the mom good looking?
I'm not allowed to comment on that. But the daughter is good looking, so let's leave it at that.
I'm telling you, you got to look at the mom because that's what you're going to be living with in about 30 years. My wife's mother is absolutely stunningly gorgeous. See that? See what I did just there? It's called scoring points with the mother-in-law. It's essential. The father-in-law is going to be like, great, get this, off my plate. You're a problem now. Like that's how the dads are usually. The moms, that's where you gotta work. Okay, are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, 3, 2, go.
Great. My company is called Ucubed. Ucubed is a mashup platform geared toward web publishers, which allows them to enhance multimedia content that they were going to post anyway, while gaining revenue streams or improving their readers' experiences. Take a blogger, for example, who's about to post a YouTube video. He could first drop by ucubed.com, automatically combine that video with an Amazon widget featuring products relevant to it, and post that mashup instead. And all of a sudden, he has an additional revenue stream for his blog. Or he can match that very same video with a Twitter widget, for example, and feature live tweets on the topic that's being discussed. And thereby, he can make his blog post that much stickier. It's really that simple. If you think of mashup as a collage, Ucubed is the glue. Basically, a developer creates the context-aware elements, the user picks the content, and we do all the wiring. Everything is quick, painless, automatic. Our product is free, so how do we go about making money? Well, having our mashup widget embedded on hundreds of thousands of sites lends itself to the creation of a semantically driven distributed ad network, which will allow us to monetize every widget view and share that revenue with the businesses.
Great.
We are ucubed.com, yucubed.com. Come visit us.
Okay, great. You went 5 seconds over. I'm not going to take anything away from you for that. I'm going to ask everybody in the chat room right now, while Tyler gets his incredible insights ready, to rate the pitch. Tyler, what do you rate the pitch? What do you rate the idea?
Pitch, I thought it reminded me not of the Ninja Turtles, but of the Micro Machines. The guy
Micro Machines. Oh yeah, the guy who talked really fast. Yeah.
And so pitch, I could barely make out a lot of it, just due to the speed.
The speed.
So I'm going to go with a 5.5.
I gave it a 6.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you on the pitch. Everybody said it was too fast. The BPM, buzzwords per minute,
yes.
Very high.
Yeah. Just word per minute. It was off the scale.
Words per minute off the scale, but the BPM, which is really what you got to think about when you're pitching an idea.
Yep.
What did you give the idea?
Idea, as an idea, I actually really like conceptually.
Okay.
I can go 8.
Okay, I gave it a 7.5. I like the idea as well. I actually understood the idea despite the speed. And here we have the scores from the chat room: 6 and 6, 4 and 4, 3, and the person didn't understand it, so that's why it's low. 8 and a 5, 6 and a 6, 5 and a 4, 8 and a 5, 7 and 7, 5, 6. So anyway, the good news is you have a good idea. Perhaps people are not sold on it being an amazing idea yet, but that's okay. And your pitch, a little too fast. That's easy to switch. That's easy to fix. Here's how you pitch it a little bit better, Raphael. Hi, I'm Jason. I'd like to share with you, and thank you for having me on the show. I'm a big fan. Want to introduce you to Ucubed. This is a service that you go to as a blogger or a tweeter, and you take some object, typically a video, an image, a tweet, and you get to wrap it in our ad network. What is in our ad network? Could be something like an Amazon link, could be something like a video commercial, or an image for a product like an iPad that you could then get affiliate revenue on. You make these little widgets. Anybody can make them. Your mom can make it in 10 seconds. And now all of a sudden, objects you are putting onto your services work automatically. In addition, in our next version, we're going to have a toolbar and a WordPress plugin where you can basically monetize all your objects that are put on your tweet stream, your Facebook automatically. So this basically lets you get a little extra ad revenue for not a lot of work. That would be a little bit of a cleaner way to pitch it. Raphael, what do you think of the feedback?
I love it, Jason.
Okay, there you go. You did a good job. Just in general, when you talk to the mom, slow it down. No buzzwords with mom. And, be humble. And you'll do fine.
All right, I'll take that as well. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that went pretty well. And we're catching up in terms of the show. even after the crazy rant. And let's see here.
We got an awesome guest.
We do have an awesome guest. I'm real excited to get to him.
The company that everyone else is chasing right now.
This is the company of the moment. And they're in good company because DNA Mail, everybody loves DNA Mail, is also a great company providing web hosting for your email and your Exchange server. Thank you to DNA Mail, everybody loves DNA Mail, for hosting the program. And when was their CEO on?
George Naspa was 26.
George was 26. George, also a huge sponsor, and his company's crushing it because he owns DNA Mail and PowerVPS, and huge company. You get your mailboxes as low as $2.95. There's no reason to host your own Exchange server, have this whole IT department focused on your product and web development, etc. And DNA Mail is just basically you pay for the user. There's no other costs, and they also do Google Apps. And they're one of the few companies that are allowed to actually give support for that. So you get a little bit of support and a lot of uptime, and all kinds of logs and analysis as well. So thank you, DNA Mail. With me today is the CEO and founder of Groupon. Everybody knows what Groupon is because they are everywhere. They're in the news like crazy. I see their ads everywhere. Like, I do Google searches. Everything's a Groupon ad, so they must be making money if they're spending that kind of bank.
You can't even have a meeting. Every
meeting we go to. And somebody says about Groupon, and then we did Open Angel Forum yesterday for Los Angeles, and almost every pitch mentioned Groupon. Like every pitch, it's like everybody who's got a startup company now is doing the Zynga and Groupon of, I don't know, like login services. You know, like I'm doing the email version of Groupon. I'm like, okay, I have no idea what that means, but congratulations. Groupon is synonymous with success right now, and Andrew Mason, the founder and CEO, is here. Thanks, Andrew.
Hey, thanks for having me. Am I supposed to be able to see you guys, or no?
I hope so. Let's see. I mean, I see you, and I think the frame is. May have to just reboot it there for a second. Hopefully, though, you should be able to see me in a second.
Okay.
They're gonna work on it.
Oh, there it is. I see someone.
Whoa. Hopefully, that's me. Is a good-looking guy with a blue shirt?
Are you bald and like big?
No, that would be Tyler.
Okay.
I'm the good-looking guy in the white shirt. That's Tyler is in the bald.
Thanks, Andrew. Oh, the girls make the same mistake, by the way.
Yes, exactly. So, Andrew, your life is going extraordinarily well. Your company is crushing it. I almost don't know where to begin with the recent success or the beginning. Let's go to the beginning, because I think you guys came out of nowhere. When did this company start, and why did you start it?
The company started as another company called ThePoint.com, and The Point was a much broader platform for people to organize collective action. People could start a campaign to get a group of people to do something or give money towards something, but only once you reached a critical mass of people such that it made everybody's action worthwhile. So that started in the beginning of 2007, and we played around with it for a year and a half and made all the classic first-time entrepreneurial mistakes. And then towards the end of 2008, we started trying to figure out how to make money off of it, which ends up being important, especially when the economy is crashing. Always people were using The Point to do these collective buying campaigns. Things like, if we get 100 people, then we can all get a half off a subscription to the New York Times. So we thought that was a cool idea, but had seen all the failures in the collective buying space during the late 90s and tried to kind of morph the idea into something that wasn't going to just repeat the past. And that's where Groupon came from. So we launched in Chicago in November 2008 with about 400 subscribers on our mailing list, and started to realize that we were on to something, I guess, in early 2009, and really intentionally tried to keep it on the down low until maybe the summer of 2009, when we really started to expand and came to San Francisco, for example. And that's kind of how it got started.
That's amazing. So basically, you had this service, The Point. People were using that for like petitions, and we should boycott that, or we should support this person. And then the users themselves started using it for collective bargaining with retailers?
Well, yeah, exactly. people could start a campaign for whatever they wanted, but it's a lot of work to expect your users to go out and do bargaining with retailers on their own. So what we decided to do is let's do that ourselves. Let's serve up good local deals. And instead of focusing on consumer goods, which is what Mercata and the other group buying sites of the past did, and just become sort of an Amazon, we focused on local products where we actually could go out and cut deals that were significantly better than anything else out there. So we weren't competing with companies with a huge amount of leverage like Amazon and Walmart. And also on services that often have really large margins, so the discounts you get can be quite significant.
So you pivoted in classic entrepreneurial style from a business that essentially was not working so well, certainly wasn't making money, to something that has become a juggernaut in terms of making money. The reports are this company, Groupon, formerly The Point, is making 9 figures in sales.
How many is that? That's
it's
like
2 commas.
Yeah. I think we've got some commas.
You got 2 commas, and you're trying for a third, apparently. Apparently, on the valuation, you have the 3 commas, which is extraordinary. Congratulations on that. So take me to that moment in time when you say to the employees, and how many employees do you have at that time, hey, guys, what we're doing is not working. We're going to flip this and go that direction. And what kind of resistance did you get from your team?
That's a great question. So we never really had to make a decision. I guess I was lucky to have some co-founders and investors early on who served as great mentors and taught me how to keep agile and keep thinking about different approaches and finding the balance between focus and actually while still trying different ideas until you find something that works. And Groupon started as a total side project. We took the technology from The Point and it went from idea to actual implementation in less than a month. We just took Flash widgets from The Point, set up a blog that we called getyourgroupon.com because we couldn't afford Groupon at the time. And every day we do a new post and just stick a new widget for a campaign on The Point. And that's what it was at the beginning. It was a total hack. Like we'd sell T-shirts. And we'd say, you know, today you're getting a red medium T-shirt. If you want a different color or a different size, email us. It was like pre-e-commerce 1.0.
And so how many cities is it in now? And take us through how you get these ridiculous deals. Because my wife is addicted to this. And basically 3 times a week we have to discuss one of these deals in Los Angeles where she's like, should we get this restaurant for half price or whatever? I mean, the deals seem like the local businesses are losing money. How do you get these local businesses to say we're going to give you something at half off or 70% off?
So for the businesses think of it as a marketing expense. They're looking at it as an alternative to buying an advertisement in the newspaper or hiring a PR firm or other things. But ultimately, they're looking for ways to get butts in the seats. And the great thing about Groupon is the way that we make money and charge the business is by usually splitting or taking a piece of the portion, the money that we take in from the customer. So the merchant isn't actually paying us anything. There's no out-of-pocket expense. They're only paying in their fee to us and the discount to the customer when they're in the door and they've converted to become a customer. So if you take a typical restaurant Groupon, it might be a $20 gift certificate that you're buying for $10. The merchant gets 25% of the value mailed to them in a check the day after the deal. And then on top of that, the average customer is spending 60% over the value of Groupon. Cost of goods on these things is usually about 33% for a restaurant, for example. So they're always breaking even or making money on the first visit in the door. And on top of that, they get the huge exposure of an email to hundreds of thousands of people for essentially free, while other services like Daily Candy or Thrillist will charge $250 CPMs for those. And obviously, if your customers have a great experience, then they'll come back again. Yeah, and 9 out of 10 businesses we feature in the surveys we do say that our customers start coming back within a month.
And one of the things I notice when I read the email is that you guys spend a lot of time on the copy, the images. It feels like it takes 5 people 2 days to build each one of these emails because it's so well written. And take us through the editorial process, because this is a thing I've always talked to people about, is sort of editorial excellence and really refine the product. And I use you guys as an example of somebody who actually takes the time to send an email that has value. How do you make the email so valuable? What's the process? Was it always like that?
Yeah, it was like that. The first deal we ever closed was for a business called Garters by Christie, which is a company in Chicago that makes these custom garter belts that with sports logos on them, which, you know, to each their own. But anyway, that was the first deal we ever closed, and this guy that was a community manager for us at the Point at the time did the write-up, and it was just hilarious. And ever since that, we've kind of stuck with the motto of let's continue to build this site, no matter how big we get. Let's invest in making this site fun in the way that it was the first day that we did it, and just make sure that it stays cool. You have to remember that, like, I dropped out of school to start the Point because I thought I was founding a company that was going to solve the unsolvable problems of the world. And here I am, for some strange reason, like running a $1 billion coupon company. I have no idea how it happened, but as a result, we just try to do it in a way that makes it awesome for us. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to have any fun if we were doing something else.
And you were based in Chicago, and the company is doing hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, had a $1 billion valuation when DST, the Russian internet investment firm, bought into it. And yet, you have not had enough money or resources to get an office.
Oh, you mean me, personally?
Yeah. You sit at a cube.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be weird to be in an office. I'm not smart enough for one.
And so, no, but take us through the thought process of sitting with your team and the culture of the company and how you run it, because obviously you started with something that, to be honest, feels like one of those very touchy-feely, non-revenue generating startups, like, oh, petitions, we're going to make the world better. And now you're just in the hardcore capitalist sort of space. How did the company culture change? Did it change? And how does sitting out there in the pit with everybody sort of help you as a leader?
So I realized, first, I'll answer that in a second. I realized I never answered your other question, which is how did I get everybody to shift? It was a very gradual thing. So we started Groupon as a side project, and it just took off. And before we knew it, we were all working on Groupon, and we were happy to do it because it's a lot of fun to work on something that's showing some signs of success. So to your other question, which was what, culture?
Yeah. The culture and sitting outside and your thoughts on the company culture, how important it is, if it's important.
Yeah, I think it's super important. I don't think there's any magic to it other than to just try and hire great people and give them the freedom to be awesome. And we're a humble group of people who have. We don't have a lot of rock stars around here that think they know everything. And, I guess that's reflected in the fact that I don't have an office in some way. I think it's just symbolic of us all being at an equal level.
It is. And interesting in your pivot story, everybody starts working on this other project. The other project has more success. It's winning more. So you don't have to tell everybody, hey, everybody work on this. Everybody just was drawn to the winning. Is that how the transition occurred?
Yeah, exactly.
So winning in and of itself convinces people to go do something.
Yeah, it's sexy.
Yeah, winning is, in fact, sexy. And now this mega round of funding, we have to touch on it at least. You have the same investors as Facebook and Zynga, and I'm not sure what else DST's in, but this is a Russian investment firm. How did you meet them? Did you run some sort of a process to get them as an investor, or did they just show up at your doorstep because of all the noise around your revenues?
We were introduced through Jim Breyer at Facebook. And since last summer, we've just had a line of investors at the door, and occasionally we decide to talk to some. So that's how we met them. We liked them. They were really came off as entrepreneurs, investors. People. They like to pick 2 or 3 category-defining brands a year and get behind them in a big way, and kind of leave the entrepreneurs alone to do what they do well. So for us, it was an opportunity to get some liquidity for the early founders, a little bit more growth capital, and hopefully bring some really patient and smart partners into the fold.
So how much bigger can this actually get? I mean, how many cities are you in now? And is this something that could be in 200 cities? Or is it something where you're going to go into other verticals besides local? I mean, is this going to compete with Groupon? Is Groupon going to compete with Amazon and Zappos? Or is it just going to compete with the local flyers that you get on your car and in your mailbox?
We're in 60 cities now in the U.S. and Canada. I think it could get absolutely huge, but much more interesting would be to see if we could make this moment right now kind of the apex and then come crashing down just as quickly as we rose. So I'm trying to decide whether I want to do that or continue growing it. But seriously though, I think the space that we're in is really trying to connect local customers to businesses and being the best source of customers for brick and mortar businesses out there. We seem to have found a way to make e-commerce work for local businesses, which has always been something that people have tried to do, and we seem to be doing it. So we're going to continue to explore that. And I think it can get quite big.
Yeah, I mean, clearly there's 200 cities on the planet that could use this, and you're only, 25% into that. Yeah, so
we're in Sioux Falls, which is like 100,000 people or something like that. And that's like the 150th or 175th largest city. So there's a lot of room for scaling up smaller cities.
What do you think? This is a question from the chat room. Chris Bow asks, what do you think about the clones of Groupon, especially the knockoffs in Europe? And I think there was one in China that essentially took your whole concept in business down to the pixel. What do you think about that as an entrepreneur? Does it get you pissed off, or?
I'm over it at this point. I mean, I was a musician before I was an entrepreneur, and as a musician, when I first started seeing these things, I could only think plagiarism. There's something offensive about it, but apparently it's just the way things work in this world. So you roll with the punches, you get used to it, and we really just try to stay focused on making our product cool, and I don't pay much attention to it anymore. I know that's what everybody says, and it's kind of lame, but it actually is true at this point.
You're focusing on your game, not what the people are copying and et cetera. One question people have is the original idea, The Point, was that a venture-backed business, or was it an angel-backed business, or was it off revenues?
Yeah, so when that started, I was a graduate student in public policy, and I'd had the idea, and a fellow in Chicago who's a serial entrepreneur and investor named Eric Lefkofsky, I'd worked for him in the past, and he heard about the idea and called me up in school one day and asked if I wanted to drop out and turn it into a company. And at that point, I didn't know anything. I didn't know what VC was. I didn't know what angel investors were. I didn't consider myself an entrepreneur. But he just said, here's $1 million and let's go do this. And that's how it got started.
So he must be pretty excited now that you guys pivoted. Lower expectations, certainly for The Point. Did he expect that would become a billion-dollar business?
No, he was a total idiot to invest in me. I mean, I never would have done it. So, but credit to him for being willing to take risks like that.
So somewhere around the time a business becomes worth hundreds of millions of dollars is when the VCs say, let's get this guy out of here and get a real CEO who knows how to operate and scale a business. Apparently, you're still CEO. Are Are you going to look for a new CEO? Is there pressure on you from your investors to get out of that seat and become the chief creative officer or something nonsensical like that?
No, there hasn't been. From my perspective, I don't care what I do. I just like being useful and doing things that are interesting and challenging. But so far, our board seems to not want to fire me. And you might, or at least they tell me that they don't.
And so what's next for Groupon is the question that keeps coming up in the chat room. People obviously are big fans of the service, but is it just going to, is this the service? Is there any sort of new idea or new twist on it that's coming that that you can sort of share with us, or direction for the company?
We'll continue to expand. We'll be in Europe in months. And beyond that, yeah, there's a lot of things. I really think what we've done so far is just the tip of the iceberg. We could screw it all up, but we have a lot of awesome ideas that if we do them right, I think could make what we're doing now look very small.
What do you think has been the key to your success with Groupon at this point and as an entrepreneur?
I think focusing, I mean, all the tried and true cliches, focusing on building a product that solves a problem for me as a social recluse that always goes to the same bar or the same movie theater, and trying to create a tool that would nudge me out of the house. And then building it in a way that entertains me instead of figuring out if it's trying to figure out what nerves to pluck in order to entertain other people. I think that's useful in terms of building a genuine, cool product that people want to use, and also staying focused on the long term. You know, there's a lot of things we could have done to cut corners along the way, like with the writing, for example, that pissed off a huge amount of businesses early on because they didn't understand why we did those things that way. But the reason we did is because we knew that we wanted to speak to our audience in a way that showed respect to them. And we thought of our audience as people like us. We wanted to speak to them like we would want to be spoken to. And that's proven to help create trust between us and our audience. And I'm glad that we've done it because now businesses look at it as one of our core assets.
How many buyers does it take to negotiate the deals for a market? It seems like, in some ways, there's a lot of work to get a business to do this. Do you have like 5 buyers per city or 10 buyers? I mean, does it take 2 weeks to close somebody on this, or does it take 2 days?
Trade secrets, my friends. Trade secrets.
Okay, there you go. Very good answer. It seems like there's going to be some sort of a burnout now because of all these knockoffs of Groupon. Are you seeing like some saturation effect where people are like, oh my God, I got 5 calls today from people wanting me to give my product away for half price?
I haven't heard anything like that from businesses, but I think, what we've seen a little bit is that all the knockoffs kind of wash each other out. People think of it as Groupon and the Groupon clones. And I mean, the biggest problem we have as a business, which is what's led to the proliferation of clones, is the fact that we have far more demand from business owners than we have supply. We have this self-imposed restriction that we think is quite important of only offering 1 deal per day. And in cities like Chicago or San Francisco or New York, the larger markets, we have waiting lists of hundreds of businesses that want to be featured. And that's after we've turned away hundreds more that didn't meet our quality standards. So that's basically creating a market for Groupon clones. And the good thing about it is, though, we have the luxury of picking and choosing the best businesses that we want to work with, and we make sure that we have enough inventory to serve the best businesses. And the question will be whether there's really a market for a second tier of Groupon clones to serve a second tier of businesses, and whether that will have sustaining interest for consumers.
And the scarcity of the number of days in the year. I mean, in a city like Chicago or New York or Los Angeles, 365 local businesses must be 0.001% of the local businesses. It's a small fraction. Is that what gives you the leverage to say, hey, give a better deal? I mean, is it like an auction? If I'm number 200 on the waiting list, and can I jump to number 1 by giving 80% off?
We look at this as our job is to balance the equation of that win-win between businesses and consumers, and it's about getting the best deal that the business has ever offered. But our goal isn't to get this to 99% off, because then it starts to lose value for business owners. We found that like our average discount, I think, is 60%. That works well for a lot of businesses, and what gets people to the top of the list is really the demand for that business. How well reviewed is it? What's the location? What kind of business? What category is it? That sort of thing.
When looking at the Los Angeles restaurants, I'm a little bit of a foodie. I notice none of the very popular restaurants are on there. How do you deal with that problem that a Nobu or whatever famous restaurant's just not going to go for this? Does that mean you're always going to be, you talk about being the high end of the Groupon sites, obviously as Groupon, but can you crack into those? Because I would like to see some discount at one of those places. Is it just not possible to sell them on that?
All right, I'm writing it down, Nobu. I'll see what I can do.
Well, just getting a reservation is one thing,
Right. So that if a business doesn't need customers, then they don't need us. There's nothing we can do to help a business that doesn't need customers, because that's what we do. But beyond that, I mean, there are James Beard award-winning restaurants that have worked with us all over the country. There's like world-renowned art museums like the Art Institute of Chicago. We sold 5,000 memberships in a day, and this was like a year ago, which increased the membership base that they had been building over the last 100 years by 6% in a single day. So, sorry, I just went off on I blow myself away rant.
What worries you about the business today? Is there something that's your massive concern that keeps you up at night?
A lot of things, but nothing stands out as being particularly overwhelming. I think, what I think about is how do we not start to suck? And I want to make sure that all those things that like Yahoo did or eBay did that made them start to suck don't happen to us.
And that's what? What are the things that made those companies suck? Was it the lack of innovation? Was it too much red tape? What do you think?
What do you think?
That's a good question. I'm not sure, but
I think that's the musician in him coming out, because as a former musician myself, like you look at bands that get popular and they're never going to stay that way forever, because somehow they're going to just start sucking, because every band does at some point.
Yeah, I wrote some email the other day, and I thought, this is like late 80s David Bowie email.
Wow, quality is getting bad. It could be like a theme song for a really bad 80s movie. I guess innovation would be it. How do you stay innovative as a company when you get so big that so much of your time must be spent on just hiring and managing all these people? How many employees are there, and how do you keep the innovation going?
We have about 300 employees, and we're adding, I think, about 40 a month. We try to make time for it. You try to just hire it so you have enough flex to be able to continue to innovate. I think just naturally the people here, it's innovation is built into the culture. A core part of the culture is the editorial team that we have, which is just very, very creative, and I think it's a creative place to work where we do a lot of creative things. So I'm not worried about innovation as much as I am, I think, about making sure people know each other and people feel like they have the same sense of ownership and autonomy and ability to make a real difference in the future of the company that those 20 people did, a year ago when they joined.
Final question: entrepreneurs you respect most, maybe even model your career after or look to for inspiration?
Well, there's this guy, Eric Lefkowski. He's my co-founder here, and he's been a serial entrepreneur, and I've learned more from him than anyone. Other kind of people like that. The people on my board have been great. Jason Fried, I think you had his partner on the show a couple weeks ago. We don't agree on everything, but he's really thoughtful and really understands product and really understands branding. And he's great to poke holes in my thinking.
So, Eric, great answers, by the way. Your partner, Eric, has some sort of an investment vehicle called Lightbank, and Dark Underlord from the chat room. Imagine that, somebody in the chat room named Dark Underlord. I think every chat room has about 3 of Dark Underlords or Darth somebody. Tell us about Lightbank and its investment strategy and what it is, because you're involved somehow, right? I'm
involved in their offices right over there. And sometimes I look at the companies that come in and invested a teeny bit of money in it. But I think it's focused on the Midwest, and what they try to do is get people with interesting ideas and put money into it. And then in addition to giving them just money, they give them some of the operational assistance that they might need. So they have a team here of entrepreneurs that they can deploy to these companies to help them with business development or thinking about product and that sort of thing. So it's a little bit, it's higher touch than your typical VC.
So basically, part incubator, part investor, an approach. Well, it's great having you on the program. Continue success.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, and keep putting out these amazing deals. It's just sick. I don't know how you get it's like, I sit there with my wife. It's like, this is literally like, she takes out the iPad or she's got her iPhone. She's like, look at this. How is this possible? How is it possible that they could, and I try to explain this to her. Now I can just point her to this video and say, listen, it's advertising. It's not, they're not looking at it as a customer, looking at it as advertising. So continued success, and do stop by when you're in Santa Monica. Thanks for being on the program.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
Thanks, Andrew.
Bye. Wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
Really smart guy.
Yeah, I want to find out what his old band was back in Chicago.
Yeah, we got to find his old band to get some tracks from his old band. Where do you think it's going to? Is it like a grunge band, or what do you think?
Yeah, I'm
a little bit grunge.
I'm thinking grunge. I'm thinking a little bit.
Like Nirvana meets
shoegazer. Yeah, he's got that shoegazer vibe.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, I didn't ask him about running a business in Chicago. That was the other question I had. What's it like to run a business in Chicago? It's great. It must be great to be the only huge internet business in Chicago.
The big fish.
Can you imagine the big fish in the pond? Just awesome. And I love this. I just have to say, it's really opening up I love having people in the studio, obviously. It's better to have somebody in the studio. But I just let me ask the folks in the chat room, what did you guys think of the last 2, really big guests, but over Skype? Would you rather wait for them to be in the studio, or does a Skype interview feel the same quality as when I have them here in the studio? And you can feel free to rate the interview, a scale to 1 to 10. One person says lacks punch. People like the studio. Yes, wait for studio. In studio, wait. Yeah, see, this is what I'm afraid. Skype is the same, okay. The sooner the better, see? Not the same quality, but still good, okay. People give it an 8. Skype is just awesome. 8, 10, 10, 8.5. Better in studio, but got to do what you got to do. Agree. Skype is okay. Studio better. Definitely in person 7. I like it. I thought he was at Kinko's. Me too. Yeah, 7 out of 10. We got Lon. Lon, get in here. We have to actually send the headset, and it will get better.
We are actually, I will note, we are doing that. We ordered some headsets. We're going to get them in, and then by Wednesday.
How do you know what's going on at this weekend?
I work there now. I don't know if you heard
is there a
about
little
this.
announcement to be made here? Do we have a special announcement?
Round of applause.
Round of
for
applause.
me. That's nice.
Lon Harris working with me for. Did we go through this? I have this deja vu. No, it was at the movies I gave a little
Yes,
speech
right.
and toast to you.
Yeah, well, it was very nice. It was lovely.
Very touching.
Brought a tear.
Did it really?
It did. I welled
No.
up.
Did you really?
You can ask Derek. Derek was sitting next to me. I got a little
I
emotional.
thought
Really?
I thought that was because of the trailer for the Karate Kid.
Well, that's I mean.
that really
kid,
gets you.
he's getting beat up, and then Jackie Chan helps him. It is very emotional.
It is. Lon has done an amazing job here. I'm going to recreate the speech. I'm going to make him cry.
There it is.
Lon gave 3 great years of his life.
3.5.
3.5 years, 42 months of his life to me. At Mahalo was the second guide who did editorial. And he worked so hard, and now he's left Mahalo to become the creative director of thisweekin.com. And he'll give me another 42 months of his life.
Yep. Here we go. I'm a week in. I'm already a week in, so.
So honestly, you left Mahalo.
Yes.
And you had another offer from a third company, which I don't know if we can actually say.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't see any reason why not.
Okay, so you're being recruited heavily by
Netflix. Netflix has a project. I don't want to
you
get too
can't
into
say
the
the project.
project.
You can't tell the
but
project.
Netflix had a project. They really wanted to bring some new people in. It was a pretty good fit from what I've been doing, and obviously, big movie guy. I love movies.
Of course. You worked at a video store before.
Before here.
And you were the manager of the video store, or you're just a clerk?
I was sort of assistant
Be honest.
manager.
Okay,
Yeah,
assistant
no,
manager.
I basically was a clerk. Yes.
And how much were you making per hour? Be honest.
I made $8.50 an hour at the time that I left that job.
So
I
you
started at 8, and then I had gotten a raise
$8.50.
to $8.50, which was that was a big day.
42 months ago, you're making $8.50. You come to
Yes.
work for me, you get a decent boost, actually. And health benefits.
The money was already significantly better, just entry level at
Right.
Mahalo. And benefits and stock options, which I'd never had.
Right.
I'd worked a bunch of other jobs, never got stock in a
So
job
you
before.
work for me for 3.5 years. You get this, I can't say the amount, but a shocking amount.
It was a big.
I mean, it
was a
was
big
shocking.
number. I was shocked.
It was basically double what you were making at Mahalo.
If you would ask me when I started at Mahalo, do you think in 3 years somebody will offer you this amount? I would have said, no way, you're crazy. You're insane.
And you attribute this to what?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think part of it is Netflix, obviously, in Los Gatos. I would have had to move, so I think they knew they had to sort of woo me away. But, you know, also it was working at Mahalo is, and I was just actually talking to someone in the chat room about this, working at Mahalo is like business school. You've said it before. It's like getting an MBA. And that's true in a lot of ways because you're not, nobody is working one job. It's never like, here's your job, and you keep your head down, and you do your specific little task. And that's it. Everybody who's doing a good job is sort of like constantly picking their head up. What's everybody else doing? How can I make the whole project better? How can I interact with people to help what I'm doing? And so you learn all kinds of different things. You learn how to run every aspect of a startup. I mean, I learned things about building a startup, like what the developers and engineers are doing. Right. Which I don't have any background in computer science, coding at all.
So congratulations on being employee number 2 at a thriving company.
Thank you. I'm very excited to.
So you go to this weekend, you get to own a nice chunk of shares in the company, and maybe not make as much money as you would at Netflix, but you get to actually be the creative director of the network. What does that mean on a day-to-day basis?
Well, it means a lot of different stuff. I mean, I'm sort of taking my primary job as being focusing on the content and the quality of the individual shows, figuring out how we can take some of the newer shows and make them better like the more established flagship shows like this one and Kevin Pollak's show. And also to design, new shows, decide which new shows we're going to work on, develop them with the hosts and producers. Yeah.
And in fairness to the other shows, Kevin Pollak is obviously a world-class actor with 40 years of...
Yes.
I mean, he's 72 now, so I mean, he's been acting...
Way back since the golden age of Hollywood.
He was in vaudeville.
Yeah.
No, he's been obviously doing it for decades, and I've been doing stuff. Right. I mean, I did my first podcast at Pseudo in 1995, so I've been doing this for a while too, and we've been doing the show for a year. So the new shows are going to take a little time to ramp up, the guests, the hosts, the strategies, etc.
And we know that. I mean, it's not going to be an overnight process. It's really like holding up, like, here are the standards that we're going for, and then seeing what we can do, baby steps, to get the other shows up to those standards. I think we're doing pretty well so far. Yeah. Obviously, it's going to take some time to get hosts and get shows that are working as well as these very established brands now.
The one criticism Leo Laporte had of what we were doing was, hey, the quality's not there on some shows.
Yes. Fair, which is, I mean,
Fair in
I think
some cases.
I think it's fair to say.
But you're working hard on taking it to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, we're taking, at this point, I'm trying to sort of put in a more strategic approach. So
Yeah.
we've always known we want to get the quality better. We do little things to make the quality better. But I think now there's going to be one person looking at every show, really being sort of unbiased, taking a strategic, cold, hard look at what we're doing, what other shows are doing, try to get best practices, and then sort of see what we can do in little ways to up the quality. In addition to just getting people more experienced, we'll have a full-time person working on getting good guests and working on making those little kinds of adjustments that really make a big difference to the viewer.
In a related programming note, I will be on This Week in Tech on Sunday.
Oh, really? Oh,
I got the email yesterday.
Wow.
I was like, am I being punked?
That's big news. That's going to be very. There's a lot of people, from what I get in my emails and see on Twitter, there's going to be a lot of people who are very
Everybody
interested.
wants to know if there's a fallout going on between Leo and I. You'll find out on Sunday at 3 p.m.
I get asked that literally every day.
Twitlive.tv.
Wow. I will
3 p.m.
I will tune into that. I will be tuning into that.
Absolutely. And who else is tuned in is Power VPS. They're tuned in to giving you fully managed virtual private server hosting with great customer support and an amazing price. Starting as low as $59 a month. www.powervps.com. Twist viewers get 25% off for the life of their plan if they use, and only if they use, the discount code TWIST, T-W-I-S-T. It is your Geary, it is your humble honor, it is your duty to thank the sponsors right now. If you're driving, just take out your BlackBerry, hold it right in front of your face.
Pull over, please.
No, absolutely, pull over. Do not tweet this while you're driving. And you will tweet, as per your Geary, thank you to @PowerVPS, @DNAMail, @WebSpy, and @Ustream. Thank you, thank you, thank you for helping grow the show. And let's go to the news.
Segue skills like that, by the way, at least 5 years to master. Just that alone, just the ability to segue into the sponsors. It's great stuff.
Thank you.
So let's start with Facebook.
Are you going to start giving me notes on my show? How I can do better?
I have them written out there. I was working on them while I was watching. They're mostly good. They're mostly good. And if I can just throw in my vote.
Should we make the notes public? I would like my criticism notes to be public.
I'm fine with that. I like it.
All right, I want my show notes public.
I can.
But no, seriously, I want the public, but no pulling punches.
I don't know. You can read them. There's some pluses and some minuses.
Don't work for me anymore.
I will say my vote. I like the Skype.
I am the largest shareholder of the company. But.
Of course. I know. I know. No, I had
but
the
you don't work for me.
I had the same thought with Mark's sister. It's like, I don't know. This guy's big and powerful and could buy and sell me. I don't know if I want to send him these notes.
No, I'm going to leave it up to
We'll start with
mine.
I like that. Leave it up to the host. They can decide.
If they want to. I mean, maybe earlier they don't want to have it public, later they get public. But I would like to have it public and then have the audience say, like, I agree with that, I disagree with that.
Yeah, that'd be great. It will help me actually make the notes if
people want to know how the sausage is made. Let's hear the news.
Right. So the first news story, obviously, big one, Facebook and their continuing woes. We talked about this a bit before. Obviously, you've had some outspoken opinions about it. Concerns over Facebook's privacy policies have mounted over the past week, leading many thought leaders in the tech industry to distance themselves from the service or even cancel or discontinue their accounts. Peter Rojas and Matt Cutts both deleted or deactivated their accounts this week, and Leo Laporte deleted his account live on This Week in Tech on Wednesday. Some blogs have already started labeling it, quote, the great Facebook deactivation wave of 2010. So, though you've spoken out strongly against Facebook's open graph and their lack of concern for user-sensitive data, why haven't you yet deactivated your account or endorsed the idea?
Good question. I have just today thought about turning my account off. I use the account for marketing purposes.
Yes.
So essentially, if I want to have a serious communication with people, that's the jasonnation.com email newsletter. Mm-hmm. That's my most serious discussion with people. Only thing on par with that is this podcast.
Right.
So the two ways I try to communicate with my people is the podcast and my email. And what you'll see me do on Facebook is point people to those two things.
Right.
It's essentially why I use it. Now I've got 30,000 people, I think, on my fan page, and 5,000. And I don't really use it as a individual. I use it as a marketing channel. So I don't know. But the truth is, I look at the number of referrers. It's dozens of people. So I don't know actually that I'm getting some great marketing value out of it. So I may turn it off, but it would be just as a show of, it would just be ceremonial.
Solidarity.
I think the fact that I don't use it and I only use it for marketing speaks volumes to how I use it. And also, there is not a viable competitor right now. And
Right.
this is the email newsletter I'm writing this weekend is who could be a viable competitor and what would that entail to be a viable competitor. But it is interesting to me that the discussion we had on this program that somebody clipped from December,
Yeah, last year.
people all assume that I made this week, and it had, I don't know, 10,000 views on it, this message to Zuckerberg.
Right. That's getting retweeted a lot. I think people thought it was new.
People thought it was new. It's from December. I could tell by my haircut. And this is a conversation I had on This Week in Tech, I don't know, a year ago with Leo, where I said, I just don't trust the guy. And then, you know, this stuff just keeps coming out. It's a pattern. And I identified the pattern at least, what, a year and a half ago we were talking about this? Like, I don't know if I can get behind this. It's
Beacon, maybe? Was that
Beacon? Well, Beacon felt like, okay, maybe they were trying to do something innovative and got a little high on their own supply.
Right.
You know,
It got interesting when, I mean, the one time you can be like, oh, they goofed up.
right,
Lack
right.
of judgment.
The
on
news feed, right.
Somebody did a party foul.
Anybody can read anybody's news feed, right?
Right,
was the
right.
first one.
Right, yes.
But then when it starts developing a history of repeated, it's like they're not doing this on accident. This
four
is
or
no
five different sort of
Yeah.
outrageous decisions.
right.
Yeah, like
It's basically, yeah, and when you see the lawsuits pile up, and then you parallel that with the things that are coming about in his professional career, things he said, things he did to partners, things he did to customers, Connect You, Eduardo, next. I mean, it just seems like he's got a pattern of taking, just not being honorable. I mean, I hate to get into personal attacks on a person, but he does not feel like an honorable guy. And I think that's why my email newsletter this week particularly resonated with people, and a number of people told me, hey, that was your best email newsletter ever, or that was a good one. I got that reaction fairly often from people for that specific one because I think he's dug a hole for himself. And people generally, you know, like you can take somebody's personality online and you can put it in different directions. You guys work with me every day. You know who I am as a person. Yeah. The audience knows who I am as a person from watching the show if you've watched it more than 5 times, hopefully. But people can, of course, make me into anything they want. And so sometimes you'll see me get distorted. But the truth is, it's largely correct. Yeah. I would say it's more correct than not correct. So maybe they get 75% of who I am correct on the internet in terms of how they interpret me, 25% wrong. Well, if 75% of what people have said about him on the internet is correct, it's a really bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
that
really
would
bad.
really not be good.
And you know what? When people don't file lawsuits, when they don't, in general, the idea that people do frivolous lawsuits, that's not really what people do. There are some exceptions, like ambulance chasing things and whatever.
Workers' comp or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there is that contingent. But the lawsuits by like the attorney general or like, governments or privacy associations, like they don't do that willy-nilly. There's something riding on that. You know, it's not like some ambulance chaser doing it. So anyway, I got emailed today by the New York Post and the Guardian and the San Jose Mercury News, and I was in the San Francisco Chronicle today. Everybody's coming to me, of course, as a chairman of the internet, to give my ruling, and I said I did that in my email. And the question I got from one person was, will this have any dramatic effect on their signups or their future prospects? Will people leave? I think people will, over time, use the service less. And I think that the 2 words that come to mind when you say Facebook are Farmville and no privacy, untrustworthy, kind of a sort of thing. Yeah. And so when you don't want the what do they call that test when you say one word and I say the next?
Word association.
You don't want the word association with your brand to be untrustworthy.
Well, and a company that's not a product that's not actually theirs. I mean, if
and a product's not
the
theirs.
other one, that's not actually Facebook.
So I mean, I don't think we're going to see anything until a viable competitor comes out. Like people are not going to rush away from it without a viable competitor there. So that's part of the reason I think they're doing so well, is that there's not a better option. But you could be sure that right now there are a lot of people thinking, Facebook's weak. And I'm not going to say any specifics, but let's just say this week a number of people and I had different discussions about who is the viable competitor. And these are people with billions of dollars of capital. So people in the, who have the $1 billion plus resources are starting to think, yeah, you could beat Facebook. And I agree. This is a serious chink in the armor.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect segue into the next story I had. Diaspora.
Yeah.
Speaking of potential Facebook competitors, New York-based project started by 4 students from NYU's Courant Institute. They're hoping to replace Facebook with an open, decentralized alternative. Thus far, they've received over $100,000 in funding on the Kickstarter service. Kickstarter, for those uninitiated, it's a microfunding service. People post projects online, and then they seek small donations from visitors, and if they get to their goal, they get those donations. So their goal was originally only 10 grand in donations.
What?
They had originally set this project, their goal was 10,000 to get Diaspora started. They've already gotten over 10 times that. And now they have plans to begin coding this summer. Investors so far have included Fred Wilson and Leo Laporte. So do you think this could be it? I mean, could this be the alternative to Facebook? And would you invest if after they get out of their Kickstarter round, they're looking for more angels to come in?
And to be sure, the Kickstarter is not an investment, it's a donation.
It is a right.
You don't get any shares in the company. If you did, it would be illegal because
you're not investing in Diaspora.
Right.
You are just giving. You want the project to succeed.
Right.
So
you're basically giving a gift.
You're giving them the
money. It's a grant or whatever. You get nothing from it.
No, you don't. You don't benefit. You benefit in that the product gets built or the project gets finished.
I like the idea of Kickstarter. I would have liked to invest in that because I think
it's still open for another like 18 days.
No.
So?
I would have liked to invest in the tool that got them the 100,000 in Kickstarter. Yes. Kickstarter is the story here, actually, more than Diaspora. Diaspora is a non-centralized solution, open source. Don't know if that's actually the one that's going to win. I think people want a company they can trust. And they want a service that's reliable.
Yeah.
And the problem with the Identicas of the world or whatever is they don't innovate fast enough. They don't have a brand behind them. Open source projects are great for things that are not consumer facing, but with the exception of Firefox, you're not going to see a lot of consumer facing products that are open source. And Wikipedia. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but especially things that take large number of servers and large amounts of technology. This is a large technology project. I don't know that it can be done open source. Certainly you can make open source software that is Facebook-like, but I don't know if you can run a service, software as a service, kind of a thing. But I do applaud them, and I do want to see them succeed. And I think if they just create an open source version of Ning, that is, and WordPress is doing BuddyPress, so people have tried, and there's a bunch of other services out there that are sort of open source, social networks. I wish them all the luck in the world. And obviously, it says people want an alternative.
Yeah.
And not only do they want an alternative, they're voting with their dollar. And they get nothing from it. I mean, those votes are every one of those votes, every dollar, should send, forget about my email newsletter or Leo Laporte or Matt Cutts or whatever, Peter Rojas, the Digerati, whatever, pundits. They've been talking about this issue for close to 2 years now.
Yeah, it's definitely something
and we've been talking about
there.
the Apple issue for close to 2 years. We're not the ones that matter. When you start seeing people voting with their dollar to create an alternative, and you start reading about stuff in the San Francisco Chronicle and New York Post and CNN, and I was on Yahoo, and Yahoo was like the 10 things you shouldn't do on Facebook or whatever. I'm like, on the Yahoo homepage? Wow.
No, I had my mom ask me about because she's on Facebook.
Yeah, so now, this is...
So this is something that's even now hit, like, her generation.
This week, it has become...
It's hit critical mass.
It hit critical mass, and that's the thing that's changed, and it's very dangerous. And in order for them to not have negative ramifications... there are negative ramifications from this. In order for this not to be a serious blow, they need to be better than any other alternative out there, and they need to make it up to their customers. That's the only solution. Tyler, what are your thoughts?
I was thinking the same thing. Like, until there's a real alternative, where can people go? And your open source is kind of the point. So it's going to be interesting. These things take time, but when would you expect to see the first real viable alternative?
I think that there are some that are sleepers right now. I'm just going to leave it at that because I'm writing the newsletter this weekend. But I think there are sleepers out there in the market. I think that there are people who could take them on already out there. And I think there are people who could build a competitive service right now with the basic functionality in a short period of time. And I think that this week there are serious entrepreneurs who maybe are on the sidelines or maybe working on other projects who are thinking about, this is the moment.
Maybe MySpace's new branding is "You can trust us."
That was the Arrington suggestion. Also, AOL. That's another company people have been talking about. It's like, why don't they?
Yeah, and Lauren from 1938 Media.
Right, he did that video about AOL.
So anyway, that is my point. There are people like that who could make a viable alternative that would maybe default to private, and you'd have to click to be public. But that's what this all stands around, is defaults. And I think your default settings matter. Defaults matter. And defaults speak volumes to how you look at your user base and how you treat them. And flipping defaults in the way they have and doing it in a nefarious kind of way in these dialogue boxes that look like they were written by Zuckerberg himself or somebody who doesn't speak English.
It's incredibly complex to set that stuff up. Maybe the most complex interface I've had on a very public-facing site.
More complex to set your Facebook privacy settings than it is to set up your computer by a magnitude.
Well, yeah, especially if you have a Mac.
Yeah, but even Windows is simpler than Facebook.
Yeah.
By a long shot. Is much less. Microsoft Word or Excel are much less complex in some ways.
You know what's interesting about that is Facebook, all in all, is actually quite simple, except when you get to the privacy settings.
I feel like
that's true.
And that's somewhat telling in the point.
It's a little bit of a tell.
I don't know if I don't know if I agree with that anymore. It used to be. When I signed up for Facebook, it was very simple. I feel like now they keep complicating it a little bit more and a little bit more over time to where now I'm not even sure everything I can sort of do on there. Like sharing a link where there's like 5 different buttons and some of them work and some of them don't. And it is getting, I think, a little chaotic there.
It is, yeah. They try to simplify while it's complexity.
I think they could use one big simplification push.
All right, moving on.
Do you want to keep going on Facebook or you want to move on to a different kind of story?
Final Facebook story.
Final Facebook story. Silicon Alley Insider claimed to have gotten their hands on a transcript of an IM conversation between a 19-year-old Mark Zuckerberg and an old Harvard friend. It's written shortly after Zuckerberg launched what was then called the Facebook. And I quote, Zuck. Yeah, so if you ever need info about anyone at Harvard, just ask. I have over 4,000 emails, pictures, addresses, SNS. And then some friend whose name I don't have. What? How'd you manage that one? And then Zuck. People just submitted it. I don't know why. They just trust me. Dumb Fs. And he says the F word. I won't say the word, but yes.
Get out of my face.
So this story immediately shot to the top of tech meme, ignited and poured fuel all over this debate. We should note there's no context provided. So it could be he was joking. He's got a peculiar kind of sense of humor, this guy. Is it rash to make a judgment about the guy's character based on an IM discussion like this? Or it doesn't fit too neatly into what we've already been saying about him?
Is it too rash to make a judgment about a CEO from one email sent at 10 o'clock at night to an employee who's resigning? I don't know. Of course. Okay, so right off the bat, is it real or is it not real?
Right. We don't. There's no way to confirm that this is actually a real transfer.
Well, I might be able to add some light to that.
Oh, really?
I believe it's real, and I believe that there are people who. This is my theory, but I know Henry Blodge pretty well, and Business Insider is a great publication. My theory is there are people who've been in many lawsuits with him. There is many discovery documents, etc. And there is somebody involved who he has screwed before, or who just doesn't like him for whatever reason.
Yeah.
In that chain, who is now leaking these documents, and there are a lot more.
Oh, no.
And they are just leaking them to Business Insider one by one. And they're real, I think.
So somebody saved this chat conversations from 2004?
What if, I am almost certain that this is from a discovery document in a lawsuit, which is, remember when all these lawsuits happened, they had all these documents, they went to somebody's computer, and they just, any communication with Zuckerberg we need to see. The Connect You lawsuit, the other guy, Eduardo lawsuit, I think there was a lawsuit or a complaint with that guy, that kid too.
Eduardo Saverin, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
so I mean, if there were all those lawsuits, that means other third parties who were involved in it all had their computers, did discovery, and had all that stuff taken off. Every communication, every email, they're required by the judge's order to give to them. These are all discovery documents, is my belief. Just like the past set of them when they had him talking about breaking into people's computers or something like that.
Right, yes.
And whatnot, or screwing over, the quotes were the screwing over the Connect You guys.
Yeah, he was breaking into the dorm. Different Harvard dorms were storing their yearbook, Facebook photos on the server for the whole dorm. So he would go to the lounge, break into the door, hack into the dorm server, and then take all the pictures. Yeah. And that's how he made his original, hot or not Harvard site.
and reportedly had an ethics investigation or something.
Definitely, yes.
That's definite.
Yeah, no, he was investigating. It's all in if you read The Accidental Billionaires, which is the book that I read about all this, it talks about, yes, the administration, it was brought to their attention. The site was taken down within about 4 hours. He took it down because he was putting up, like, he would serve you 2 different photos of 2 different, of his colleagues, of his fellow students.
Right.
And then you would pick which was better looking, and as another joke, he would occasionally put in a farm animal. So you would sometimes you get a girl and then a pig or a cow or something.
Yeah. So classy guy.
Because it's hilarious, of course.
So the quotes, I think a reasonable person could say these are real quotes.
It certainly
and
seems
certainly
like it
if
could be
Facebook.
real.
Well, the other way is Facebook didn't deny them, and they did make a statement about them, and they said, we're not going to comment on things he might have said or might not have said years ago, which is basically saying, we're not going to...
Yeah, it's not a denial.
That's not a denial, and trust me, if somebody puts out a fake IM from me, I'm like, that's not true, I'm suing you, right? And I think Facebook's got enough lawyers. They don't want to do a lawsuit or a takedown notice that that's false.
Yeah.
If it's not, because it would look really bad. And somebody just in the chat room is noting, imagine if you calculated Tyler's pay on the Word. Somebody in the chat room is like, I want that job. I want that job. One insight. All I have to do is one insight.
But that one insight, it's not about the actual word you say, it's how much experience had to lead
I'm like
him
the Miles Davis
to be able to make that one insight.
Absolutely.
It's like when Picasso would do a little doodle on a napkin.
Absolutely.
It's not the time it took him, it's that he's Picasso.
Amazing insight from Tyler.
Insight from Tyler.
It's like Silent Bob, yeah.
Right.
Next story.
Next
please.
story?
Please don't let it be a Facebook story. It's like,
No Facebook
I think
this time.
people are spending more time reading about Facebook than using it.
That I am. For this week, for sure, I spent more
Absolutely.
time reading about Facebook than on Facebook. So this next story you may have heard about.
Okay.
The TechCrunch 50 conference is no more. Jason Calacanis and Michael Arrington have split after co-producing the Startup Showcase for the past 3 years. According to the LA Times, and you can shed some more light on this if you like, the split stemmed from disagreements about how to split the proceeds from the show. The quote from Michael Arrington in the LA Times, sometimes having more than one bull in the china shop can get a little messy. Of course, it was well known there had been some tension behind the scenes. Arrington had declared the conference the Jason Calacanis show during the awards presentation last year, left the stage for the remainder of the show. The collaboration will not continue, but it seems to have been an amicable breakup. Arrington's going to produce the TechCrunch Disrupt conference in New York later this year with you as a featured speaker, and then you'll be starting the launch conference in 2011. So anything to add to this, and what do you think is going to be the difference between Disrupt and launch?
One show will be better than the other.
Right.
Primarily will be the difference.
One would imagine.
And I have a feeling mine will be the better one. But I'm sure Mike feels his will be the better one.
I'm sure he does.
Listen, Mike is a friend. I did not want to do the conference with him from the start. And I told him, when I pitched him on the idea of a free version of demo, that was better and it's merit-based, he said, do it with me. And I said, I'm too busy. I got Mahalo. This Mahalo was first starting. I'm too busy. He said, please, please, please do it with me. We'll start a company. We'll split all the revenue 50-50, blah, blah, blah. Time went on. The conference becomes a huge success. It generates a lot of revenue. A lot. For me, maybe not a lot, but still, it's still money. For him, a lot. For his company, a lot. He gets through 3 years of this. He's not used to having somebody who's his equal, I guess, in the company.
Right.
There's the CEO of TechCrunch, and she's awesome, but Mike owns the company, so even though she's CEO, at the end of the day, Mike's got to make the final call since he's the largest shareholder. That's how it works sometimes. And Mike probably had some differences of opinion with me of how to run the show. I probably had some differences of opinion. And it's better we both go and do our own shows and have more options available to the entrepreneurs than not having a TechCrunch 50. And I am sad about it because I really felt we did something special. I thought it was a great collaboration in terms of the end result. And it was not my decision at the end of the day. I basically roll with the punches. I would have been willing to do it. He didn't want to do it with me anymore. So I have two choices. Either I can accept a much smaller amount of money than I deserve and then I actually own of the thing,
Right.
or we can both go off and do our own thing. Well, if I own 50%, I own 50%. That's how it is.
Yeah.
You know, you don't get to change that now. And so, good luck to him. And the launch conference is going to take another approach. Anytime I'm in a bad situation as an entrepreneur, I try to look at it and say, how could I turn this and make it the best possible situation for me? And it's very hard to do that because it's like, okay, this is a total screw up. It is a total screw up, that TechCrunch 50, the fourth most profitable tech conference behind D, TED, and the Web 2.0. And I think the fourth most, and I think probably one of the two most important, you know, definitely in the top 4 in terms of revenue, and in the top 2 or 3 regarding importance. Yeah, it's really important to people. That's after just 3 years. So I really would have liked to see what this was like in year 10.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any problem splitting the money, even though it was my idea. You know. So anyway, I gave it a lot of thought, and I obviously have Tyler's counsel in this. And I thought, what can I do to make this conference more accessible? And I think there'll be 2 things. One, it's going to be possible for a much larger group of people to be able to afford to come to this event. I'm not going to say anything how specifically pricing because we haven't decided exactly, but I am committed to making this something that everybody who's listening to my voice right now can afford in some way.
Right. Yeah.
I may have to change some aspects of it. You know, you may not be eating sushi for lunch. Maybe I'm not even going to provide you lunch. Maybe you got to go out. You're on your own for lunch.
Right.
But I want more people there, and I want to make it more accessible. The second thing is I don't need the money from it. So, and I never did it for the money. The money was just a consequence of the success.
Right.
Like many things. As such, now that I have Open Angel Forum doing really well, I have committed to taking any profits from the event, and I will personally invest those back into the startup companies who present or who are in the demo pit if they want me involved in their angel round. And the timing works out. So I don't know exactly how we're going to do that. But that's my basic commitment. It's subject to me changing it, of course, in my conference. But that's my concept right now, which is you come there. And so if you look at it, demo, the first offering, charged you $18,500.
Yeah.
TechCrunch 50, my innovation, my idea, was to take money out of the equation. You'd be based on merit. So, and I said, wouldn't it be amazing if we could give a prize of $50,000 to one person? Well, actually, it was my idea to do $25,000, and Mike said let's double it, actually, because he said $25,000 is not enough. So give him credit for making it bigger. So now $50,000 as a prize, and nobody pays. That's pretty innovative.
Yeah.
Now, what if all 50 companies, or 25 of the 50, wind up getting some little amount of angel investing from myself? Then I would, basically, the way I look at it, if I don't need the money, I am doubling down. I am basically taking the money that I could be buying more Teslas or playing on high-stakes poker or whatever nonsense I want to do with it, and saying, I'm going to invest it in the companies. I'm going to take long-term greed over short-term greed.
Yeah.
And I'm a long guy. I like long. And so if you presented this, you will get to be on stage in front of all these people and have an incredible launch. And perhaps you will allow me, and I consider it allowing me, giving me the honor of investing in your company. Because I do consider when you're an investor, angel investor, it is your honor to be able to invest in these companies and to participate in their success and to try and help them. And that's how I look at Blippy, GGGT, Backupify, Postabon, all the Gowalla, all the companies I've been so lucky to invest in. And I tell the entrepreneurs that, thank you for including me. Because I know you don't have to, because there's so much money out there. And so that's my, that's part of my pitch to the world. And you know what? I don't have anything to prove anymore. You know, it was my idea for a conference. Obviously, I was the host of it more than Mike was, because he just doesn't enjoy hosting as much as I do, and that's sort of its adjacent show. But Mike's a great guy. He's still my friend. I'm going to be at his conference. He's going to be at my conference. And so everybody wants us to be this big breakup where we say nasty things about each other.
That's just the internet. People love conflict.
And you know what? Mike and I talked about it, and I was like, hey, Mike, maybe we should have a big fight.
It would probably help ticket sales, yeah.
Of course it would help ticket sales. And you know what? I would be the one who probably would benefit from the fight more than he would. Because to be honest, he's gotten his ass kicked a little bit of late. between the juju and the this and the that and the people attacking him. And I don't want to do that to my friend.
Right, yeah.
And you know what? If I was a selfish guy, I would start a fight with him, and I would come up with all these different ways to bait him and, try to do link bait. But the truth is, I don't have anything bad to say about Mike. He's my friend. I wish we could have done the conference together. It didn't work for him. It's a business decision.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we both own half of it, and neither of us, and you don't want to go forward, I can't make you, and you can't take it without me. So therefore, it has to be, shut down.
Yeah.
And as a business decision, I give business advice here. I'm not going to sit here and cry. I know I'm good. The launch conference is going to be amazing. It'll be the best conference in the technology business within 3 years. I guarantee it. And I think it will be the most profitable one. Not that I care about the profits, and I will reinvest that money. And I am going to create a new business model for conferences. And I am going to destroy any other conference that charges people. And if people want to doubt my wherewithal, they can look at what I did to the Kretsu Forum and the Open Angel Forum. That was just like an aside. And I really think certain people are underestimating me. And that's when I'm at my best, is when people underestimate me. My whole life, people underestimated me. And that's when I get a fire in my belly. So to all you competitors out there, you don't want JCal on your team? Okay. Now you have JCal as a competitor. But that's what I told Mike.
Right.
I said, you don't
want
want
me... Did you say it in the third person like that?
I basically did, yes. No, but I told him, I said, okay, we're not going to be enemies or anything like that, but I was in your camp, and I provided value. Like, do you want me on somebody else's team? Or should I be on your team?
Yeah.
And they said, we don't want you on your team, on our team, essentially. I mean, I'd be lying if I'd say I wasn't a little insulted. I think I provide value. You don't think I provide as much value as I'm getting paid? Okay. Now the market gets to see who has value.
Yeah, I mean, now,
And everybody's telling me how, I can't compete with Mike Arrington. I can't compete with TechCrunch. TechCrunch is the #1 blog. I don't think people should maybe open the history books a little bit. I've done conferences bigger than TechCrunch 50, and I was doing them long before Mike was doing anything. And I taught Mike Arrington how to do a tech conference. He didn't have any tech conferences before I was there. And so it's on. It's on. And trust me, I have a fire in my belly about it. Yeah. And I want the launch conference to be better than TechCrunch 50. And it will be.
I got a killer idea for the model on launch. It just occurred to me during the show. I wish I could say it during the show, but then I can't let it out.
What, everybody who gets on stage gets a free MacBook Air? Or they give a MacBook Air to get on stage?
Yes, that's right. Any company that wants to come has to give you a MacBook
Air. No, it is on like a Donkey Kong. And that, again, Mike's my friend. But
well, it's business. This is not.
It is business.
This is not friend.
And I have to tell you, like, there are a lot of other publications out there that compete with TechCrunch, who are begging me to do this conference with them or other conferences, with bigger readership than TechCrunch, much bigger readership, much more well known. So I don't understand it, but this is business, and this is about stacks. And it's about reputation now. And I have to put on a great show because now my reputation is at stake. I honestly believe that. And I am going mental about it.
It's interesting because for you, it wasn't about the money.
It was never about the money.
But for them, it's about money.
Right.
But that's where the divergence sort of stems from.
Yeah.
So it leads to building a conference in a different way. And I think they're more limited in the types of conference they could do in terms of innovation because they need the money aspect of it. Where philosophically, and Disrupt is more of the traditional sort of panel approach around a theme.
Yeah.
Or the last one was the live stream theme.
Right. Yeah.
Or real time.
Yeah.
Which was the happening theme, and then Disrupt now is, I think they're manufacturing the theme there. I don't know that that's necessarily the real theme of the day, but they're all, if they want to build conferences around a theme and the panel thing, I don't know that that's as innovative as the what to you or I was the real kind of fun part of the conference is the celebration of the entrepreneur and the launch of those companies.
Yeah.
But there's certainly a lot of room to innovate on that part because, especially when you're not pinned to necessarily making it a business, a real profitable enterprise.
So starting today, there's another innovation. Anybody who watches 10 live broadcasts of This Week in Startups and signs the attendance sheet with Roberta, the host, gets to come for free. So this is going to happen in the winter of 2011.
2011.
So you have 6 months or so. So
Plenty
all
of
you have
time.
to do is tweet. What should we have people tweet?
Now they tweet every show they watch.
They tweet during. You have to tweet it during the show,
broadcast.
and they have to check in the Ustream chat room.
That's very important. I will say that's very important. We have Roberta, and I'll be in the chat room as well.
Right.
So you have to make sure you check in and that you can confirm with one of us.
There's an
okay,
attendance sheet.
You.
Yeah.
So we can verify that you actually watched all 10 shows. We will be sort of taking roll.
Virtual attendance.
Should we do it at the beginning of the show, so we're sure people at the end?
I think the end.
I'm feeling like the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you tweet you're going to tweet during the show, and then at the end of the show, Roberta's going to take attendance.
Right. And so you make sure you're on her list for every time you watch, and then we'll keep track. And when you hit that 10, we'll get in touch with you, and we will.
All you do is hit 10 weeks, and you get a free ticket to the event.
Get a free ticket to the big
launch conference.
So
event, you can start right now by just tweeting. I can't wait for the launch conference. www.thelaunchconference.com.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
I can't wait for the launch conference.
Simple.
And put pound twist at the end, and link to www.thelaunchconference. That's it.
Easy.
Pretty simple. And every week we'll come up with something. And hopefully you guys will be able to go there. And if you are an entrepreneur, you will be able to stay on somebody's couch. Just couch surf it. Very simple.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You get a ticket to San Francisco. It's going to be $200.
So it's going to be in San Francisco.
Oh, yes. It's going to be TechCrunch 50. I'm sticking with the original formula.
Right.
It's going to be exactly TechCrunch 50, except I'm going to invest in the companies. And it will include companies in the demo pit.
And it'll be more accessible to people to come attend, because
I think it would be
a little prohibitive.
Yeah, I mean, the cheapest you were getting into it was like $1,500 or something typically.
I mean, I got to go for free, but most people.
Yeah, you're a baller. You're a baller. Okay, last
story. Well, I'll give you three choices. We can talk about Hulu, we can talk about the Nexus One, or we can talk about the latest company in the Deadpool.
Deadpool and then Hulu.
All right. So we'll do the Deadpool. It's Radar, social photo sharing site Radar. It allowed for the real-time exchange of photos, videos, and discussions from your camera phone. Will shut down officially on May 26th. Basically, as long as someone else also had the app on their phone, you could take a picture and it would instantly be shared with them, and they could leave comments. The service's parent company, Tiny Pictures, had been purchased by Shutterfly for $2.6 million in September of 2009. Shutterfly is now going to try to integrate some of Radar's key features into their own service, which is much more popular. The parent company, Tiny Pictures.
What was the name of this? Radar?
Radar, R-A-D-A-R. The parent company, Tiny Pictures, had been live since August of 2006 and had raised $11.2 million in investment. So any thoughts on what might have happened here, why it sort of failed to grab an audience?
I never even heard of this. I'm looking at the website right now, Radar.
I had
.net.
I had not heard of it either, I'll be honest.
Let me tell you something. Their death is the most marketing they're going to get. That's the sad part. Listen, photo sharing, that's a tough space to be in.
Just feels like Flickr
great space to
and
be in
Facebook.
great space to be in 99 or 2000, but a terrible space to be in now. I mean, Flickr is a juggernaut, and Facebook's got photos.
Flickr and Facebook.
It just shows you
what
how
more do you
quickly
need?
something becomes featureized.
Yeah.
And photos have been featureized for a long time. It's not really a standalone business. So anytime anybody pitches me on any kind of an image sharing site, unless you have you solve some massive problem like SmugMug or Flickr does or Facebook
Or if
does.
someone finally figures out the identity of stuff in auto generation.
And people want that. And if people want
somebody's going to get there. I mean,
And
that
does
would
People
be
really do want that, like,
But doesn't
search
Facebook
and
have that
the
now?
audit. But you have to
Doesn't
tag
work.
it.
Or Google has
you have to tag
You tag it. But
He means
Google,
automated.
I think Google Picasso has it now. It's in the software. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work, though. Yeah.
Right. So, okay. But that's a feature for like 1% of the audience. I don't know if that's going to make you, I mean, it's a great feature to sell to Flickr or Google for their services, but I don't think it's going to make or break a company. Just, you got to know when a space is featureized, and that is a featureized space. Next story. Hulu.
Hulu. Hulu revamped its video player this week, made it larger, it added adaptive bitrate streaming, it improved the content recommendation system, and users will now notice they're getting more personalized ads when they're logged in, thanks to a new feature dubbed Ad Tailor. It lets them state whether or not a particular ad is relevant. It replaces the thumbs up, thumbs down on this ad. You can say it's actually going to ask, is this ad relevant to you? Based on your selections, it'll serve you up more relevant ads. However, in a post to the Hulu blog, VP of Product Eugene Wei wrote that the company would not be embracing HTML5 because the technology isn't ready to serve the needs of its viewers, content partners, or advertisers. Read that. They don't know how to serve ads on it effectively yet. What chance does Hulu have to stay competitive with sites like Netflix if it doesn't work on iPhones, iPads, and other devices like it? And can Hulu even move into streaming on portable devices or TV boxes without angering the content partners at the studios who don't want more competition for their televised shows? Basically, is there a way out of this for Hulu?
You live by the sword, you die by the sword. They are owned by the television companies.
Yeah.
And so that got them the content.
Right.
And when they will have that content only if it does not interfere with the other revenue streams. And so if there's more money to be made in other places or from subscriptions, they would rather less people see it and make the money from subscriptions. So, I don't think Hulu's in any sort of danger of going away or, not being relevant. But it's certainly never going to be able to live up to its potential when in the current television structure, which is driven largely by, this sort of idea of exclusivity in a market, and they have affiliates, and so sometimes the city is, the NBC affiliate is owned by one person, not by NBC, the parent company. Sometimes they own their affiliates, but they went with an affiliate, like basically a franchise model for television. And so they don't have that control. I don't understand why these television companies, these television networks just don't go buy every single affiliate. I mean, that's where the cable companies, I think, have something, somewhat of an advantage. It's like, we are AMC, and we make a decision, and they don't have to ask anybody's permission.
Yeah, AMC in Phoenix is the same as AMC in Chattanooga. Right?
Yeah, so the strength of the local person is, I guess, they have more of a vested interest to fight for that local community or whatever, but then you got to get this sort of decision-making process of, like, do we all want Jay Leno at 10 o'clock or not? And, we're going to shove it down your throats or whatever. And, I mean, even in that case, they didn't win that one. I mean, I guess they won ultimately, but they didn't get to fight that one, and so you just have this, I guess, unnatural tension. And it's not a good business tension. But at the end of the day, watching television on an iPad is delightful. I watched my first movie, a film about Werner Herzog called The Burden of Dreams.
Yes.
And it is an incredible, incredible documentary. And
it's about the making of another film he did called Fitzcarraldo.
Yes.
Following him while he's making that film.
Right. And it's essentially Fitzcarraldo is a disaster, and it's a story of him in the Amazon trying to take a boat, a large boat, like a steamship for, 100 people over a mountain to get it from one river to another at the shortest distance between the two rivers.
Right.
And to film the film, there's no CGI back then. He actually is going to do this in the middle of the jungle where, like, to the north is 3,000 miles, the other way is 2,000 miles, the other way is 1,500 miles, south is 1,500 miles from the nearest, actual city. He's basically in the middle of nowhere with original, Aboriginal tribes.
Natives and stuff.
Natives who, have not seen a lot of things.
Especially films,
Yeah. And what an incredible, delightful experience watching it on an iPad. And so the world is moving this way. And last night, my wife and I were watching win and fail clips from Win Blog or Fail Blog.
Yeah.
We were on the Fail Blog channel just watching. We were looking for the wins in the Fail Blog because we like wins. And we were watching all the great wins on there on the YouTube channel for. I just showed her one, but we wound up for half an hour watching it.
I'm get lost in it.
This device is a game changer, and so television is going to change. And when you're watching it here, you can't fast forward the commercials. There's no way to do it. And the PVR, obviously made by third parties, has fast forwarding of commercials.
Sure. Yeah,
I don't know why that is. Why is DirecTV allowing you to
There
Fast
was
forward.
a lawsuit, wasn't there, with TiVo?
Replay TV.
Yeah. Oh, right. Replay TV.
Because Replay TV had a instant, because there's
right,
a moment
you could
of black.
automatically jump. Yeah.
Because there's a skipping, there's a black, like
a
frame.
right, between the commercials and the show. Yeah.
So they would just basically
scan for that.
You could just set your computer to skip it. Or set your Replay to do it.
Yeah. I only see commercials now when I'm watching Hulu. Like, I don't ever, because on TV you just...
And with Hulu, I forgive it. I'm like, okay, I understand. I'm getting it for free. I'm getting it. I had this convenience, so I'm willing
totally
to do
worth it. Yeah.
What do you think, Hulu?
Well, I love Hulu. It seems bizarre to me that Hulu wouldn't be able to sort of figure it out, because it's so great and everybody I know uses it and watches it and loves it. But yeah, I don't know how they get around this, because it seems like no matter how they're going to try to grow and expand, they're going to start stepping on the toes of the people who are providing them with all of their great content.
Yeah. If it's available on the iPad, why would you pay?
Yeah, I would never go into the iTunes store and buy Mad Men Season 3 if I can watch Mad Men Season 3 on, Hulu or whatever. Not on there, but...
What will probably happen is there will be Hulu will join forces with Apple to have an advertising version in the store.
Yeah.
So you'll be in the store, it's like without commercials, 99 cents or $1.99. Or watch for a limited time, these 7 episodes with no commercial breaks, and that new ad platform that Apple is made, or they bought a company.
AdMob, yeah.
No, they didn't buy AdMob. Google got AdMob.
Oh,
but
they bought something.
Some other one,
yeah.
And they, he gave that whole presentation of the really cool ads.
Right, yeah.
Things like, okay, you're going to have to use that, to have an ad-free version.
Right.
But then what is the point of Hulu then? I guess Hulu manages that or sells the ads for it.
Yeah, then it seems like they sort of iterated themselves right out of necessity. I also I like Hulu enough. I would pay that Hulu Plus as well, like their subscription service.
I think that's
totally worth it.
I think that would become worth it for people. And what you'll see is the people who could wind up losing out. If I'm a 20-year-old in college or a 23-year-old just out of college and my first job, and I've got an iPad or a laptop, and I look at my cable bill. $60 a month, and my Hulu subscription is $15.
10 or 15. It's
Screw
such
it.
a great
I'm just
deal.
I'll watch what's on Hulu.
Yeah.
I'll just pay $10, $15, and if I have to buy some shows once in a while that aren't on Hulu in my iTunes store, I'll just do that.
Well, the other dark thing with me, like, you just bootleg those.
Well, of course, you BitTorrent it and you're done.
You just BitTorrent any show that you don't already get.
Yeah, but I think that they're going to, as television becomes more valuable, you're going to see, and is available in more places like Hulu and for purchase, just like the music industry has gone down to the sort of individual level, we're going to see individual level enforcement of piracy on television shows and on movies. And I think actually I saw something on Tech Meme about
the Hurt Locker.
The Hurt Lockers going after actual individuals.
People.
That's the first I've heard of, really, except for like the Hulk pre-cut.
But that was they went after one specific person.
Yeah, the guy who leaked it. Right. No, now they're saying
copy.
Anybody who downloads the Hurt Locker online.
They're going to go after.
The question I have is, if you buy that stuff, or if you have Netflix, morally, is it wrong to download the
Well, Netflix
BitTorrent?
doesn't have everything, so...
No, but let's say you have Netflix and you can get it in the mail.
But you download it instead?
Where does that put you? I'm not... I know obviously still illegal on a technical basis, but I'm just saying on a moral basis, is it... If you own the DVD to it, is it moral to download the BitTorrent if you don't want to encode it?
It's interesting. This debate, I remember having this debate in college because that was the first time there were modded PlayStations. You remember the first time people figured out they could solder and they could play bootleg PlayStation? I knew a ton of people who they would like loan out a PlayStation game or it would get scratched. Right. And then they would just download a free copy. They're like, hey, I already paid for this.
Right.
So then you're in that really weird moral ground where it's like you do deserve a copy.
Yeah. I love subscriptions. I have a subscription to Rhapsody, and Rhapsody 2.0 just came out, and I use the Rhapsody 2.0 application, even though it's only for iPhone and not scaled up for iPad yet.
It works.
But it has all my playlists, and it's like I can listen to anything anytime I want, and it's crazy. Does Spotify have their iPhone app out yet?
There is one, but you have to be a premium member.
I am. I have a press review copy that I can review the press. All right, let's end the show. Thank you, Lon. You did a great job on the news. Thank you, Tyler, with the wonderful trifecta of insights, or maybe it was 2, but you got credit for 3. It was 2. And I'm sure that'll be in the show notes. Thank you to DNA Mail, Ustream, WebSpy, and PowerVPS for sponsoring the show, especially thanks to Ustream, who's been a sponsor from the beginning. We really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody for the words of support regarding the launch conference. I am going to take it really seriously and try to get everybody involved. And it does mean a lot to me to get those supporting emails from everybody. Thanks to the crew. Great job. The show has been running flawlessly. The crew has been doing a great job.
Flawless today. Flawless. I didn't see a single
sound quality has been great.
Intro. Sound quality is great. The visuals too are looking better.
Interestingly enough, the thing people started complaining about when we first started the network, Kevin Pollak's show, my show, was production quality.
Yeah.
Oh, the sound, the lighting, this person looks like they're, Indian, and I know they're Irish. This Irish person looks like they're,
It's immediately apparent. As soon as you start watching, if there's an audio hiccup or something, you notice it right away.
Now we're down to, refining it, how long is the show, what's the pace, really sort of very
how good are the guests?
How good are the guests, production
how
quality.
How good is the
What did you think of Skype,
yeah.
by the way, because you set it up?
That's what I was going to jump in with before. I mean, it's obviously there's no replacement for having a real live conversation with people, but I think the Skype works really well, and just from a behind-the-scenes perspective, we can get a lot more amazing guests on the show if we can Skype them in.
I think the sky's the limit.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of Skype, getting together this Groupon Andrew Mason interview, who was great, and getting him on the show, I mean, was so much easier than trying to, let everybody look at our schedules and try to figure out I'm going to be in LA for a day and a half, and I mean, these people are really intensely busy, and so having this as an option, as a fallback, I think it works really well. You can still have an interesting discussion. And the other thing that I really liked is you get to see their office. You get to see the inside of Groupon. It feels a little insidery.
Interesting, yeah.
You get a little insight into what how their office is run, how many employees they have, how big a space, where they work. I mean, it was interesting to see he was in this little nook, just out in the open in his office.
Let's take it, to another location.
So I kind of enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious if we can't. I mean, when is he going to be in LA?
Right.
How do we coordinate that?
And now we can get him on this week when Groupon is so in everybody's mind and everybody's talking about it. Yeah, it's just so much more timely.
Yeah. In that case, let's have Zuckerberg next week.
I'm on it.
Chances of Zuckerberg appear. I love how Mike Arrington writes this whole big defense of Zuckerberg. I was just like. I was like, in the comments, he's getting destroyed. I'm like, Mike, the only reason you're doing that is so he can speak at the Disrupt conference. I mean, what are the chances Zuckerberg's coming to the launch conference? Yeah. And there is an open casting call next Saturday, not tomorrow.
Right. Yes, the 22nd, May 22nd. If you are in the Southern California area near Santa Monica, you want to be involved with the This Weekend Network, we're looking for, we've got a ton of shows we want to do. We've got a ton of shows that we already do that we'd like to sort of mix it up a little and get some
We don't
fresh
want to do
blood.
all tech shows. That's a misconception. We're not competing against Leo. We want to do This Week in Video Games, or This Week in Movies, or This Week in Poker, or This Week in Shopping. Whatever. We want to do things
We have some entertainment stuff. We have some lifestyle ones, too, that we're looking to get into.
Great.
In terms of food, fitness, those kind of topics. Right. We've got a lot of diverse kinds of shows we want to start. And we have shows right now that we're already doing that, we've got the same people hosting a bunch of different shows. We'd like to mix it up a little and get some new people. So we're looking for, a lot of people. If you're, male, female, different ages, different areas of expertise, doesn't matter. Come on by and say hello. And we're hoping to get some interesting new faces in here.
And myself and Kevin Pollak will be doing the interviews.
Yes. Well, you'll be the last round.
They'll have
to get through a bunch of us.
So we'll probably look at 10 or 20 of them and have a discussion. We'll put it on Ustream or something.
I think we're going. I don't know if we're going to live stream. We
of course we should live. Yeah.
We're definitely going to.
Then
be
the audience,
filming.
if we do it live, then the audience can vote on what they think of them.
Right. So we'll have you and Kevin in the studio, and we'll stream that, and then we'll have.
It might be good actually to put the chat room up there and blow it up on the big screen in here, so that while they're doing it, you can get them a little uncomfortable and hear what the audience is saying.
Oh wow!
Because you want to see if they can handle an online audience. Criticize them. I mean, look at the criticism you get from the online audience
every day, incessantly. Mostly YouTube. Mostly on YouTube.
YouTube is incredible. Oh my God, it's so brutal. I love it. We will see you all next time. This has been episode 52 of This Week in Startups, and stay tuned at 4 p.m. This Week in Android coming up next.
Spiked out, I could trip a referee. Tell by my attitude that I most definitely from.